Zodiac is the point in David Fincher's career where I've realized I have to stop expecting a certain style from him. His movies are his movies, but I've been consistently praising his versatility and flexibility. Fincher's flexibility between movies is something that I really appreciate now that I've seen more of his films. The things that persist across his filmography are masterfully adapted to suit the tone of each separate movie. I have learned to stop expecting a certain aesthetic from a Fincher film, and instead I look for the ways that the constants adapt from film to film. Zodiac has a very nostalgic feel for a thriller. From the music to the colors, the film is very 60s, and this adds a very unique perspective to the events of the film. Zodiac has a lot of similarities with Fincher's other serial killer film, Seven. There isn't a lot revealed about the Zodiac killer besides what the Zodiac wants revealed, and this adds another level of unease to the film that the people who should be in control of the situation are not. What makes these kind of films good is the way they present the killer and his crimes, and this is one of the strongest aspects of Zodiac. I don't know very much about the actual Zodiac killings, but I've heard that the crew behind this film went to great lengths to recreate the crime scenes in terms of visual detail, and I assume the screenplay went through the same process. If this is the case, then it is a great decision for the tension and stakes of the film. The story feels very realistic and natural, which is exactly what you want from this genre of movie. Regardless of whether or not the story is as accurate as the other aspects of the film, the feeling I get from this movie is not a threatening fictional serial killer, but rather an incredibly intelligent person using the media to create a narrative, which is haunting. It's hard to say what the Zodiac is really capable of, and this keeps him shrouded in mystery. Zodiac also takes place over a fairly extended period of time, which is unusual for a film like this. But the film uses this to show the progression of the case and how long it took, how much the Zodiac liked to play games throughout the period of time that he was killing people. He goes from sending letters to newspapers all the time to going quiet for huge periods of time. The film revolves around bursts of information and long stretches with no new details about the case, and this structure keeps the film engaging for its nearly 3-hour runtime. Aiding this is how the case affects the people investigating it. The three leads in Zodiac all become obsessed with the Zodiac killer, and the way it affects them depending on their profession is really interesting. Whether or not they let it consume them, or whether they quietly obsessed over it when everyone else gave up. It's an interesting arc for three characters to share, especially towards the end after the film's longest time skip. It also gives a cool insight into the culture surrounding the Zodiac killer, with references to movies and other things that show how the general populace reacted to the case. Also, the interaction between the three leads is an interesting addition to the story, considering their differing perspectives on the case and how the case affects their job. The only thing that does irritate me from this aspect of the film is when non-police characters start to investigate the killings. The main police characters will usually try to help out, and they always list things that the non-police characters can do to get evidence, but rather than just giving them the option that they can actually go through with, they say, you could use this, but only police can do that, which is confusingly unrealistic in the context of the rest of the film. It's clear that the police characters want to help with other characters' investigations, but they're always confusingly pedantic about it. After a certain point, saying David Fincher is a great visual director becomes totally meaningless, so what really stands out about Zodiac is the editing. The way this film links together ideas with its cuts is really well done. Zodiac unfolds evidence and new ideas through shots of two things, people and smaller details throughout the world. The tension that this film derives from connecting throwaway details from earlier in the film with whole scenes towards the end is masterful, and their visual presentation is incredibly dramatic. Although some of it is a little unrealistically dramatic, and because of this, it implies things that aren't entirely true, or at least contradicts a lot of ideas from the rest of the film. The cinematography isn't as amazing, but there are a few shots that I distinctly remember, and that really are some of the best in Fincher's filmography. Like the rest of Fincher's work, there is a distinct aesthetic to Zodiac's visuals, and I think it's presented in this one slightly better than most. In the colors and overall design of the film, it feels very 60s and nostalgic. Everything from the clothing choices for police to the design of interiors really stands out, and it's backed up really well by a majority of the song choices, in particular the opening track by Three Dog Night. Unlike the rest of the film, the score is oddly inconsistent. For the rest of Fincher's films, I get a distinct tone from the music, set by specific instruments and musical progressions, but this is kind of missing from Zodiac. I think that it overall could have benefited greatly from a score that was more connected and cohesive, because some of the scenes where this music is used don't feel quite as well integrated into the film as a result. Zodiac is a movie that sets high standards for films based on real life, and its dedication to keeping things realistic, while sometimes to its detriment, is overall what makes it so engaging.
I've spent way too long on this recording, and it makes me want to die, but, Zodiac, 9 out of 10.